The Galactic Council convened in the Grand Chamber, an immense, circular hall carved from the heart of a dying star. Representatives from countless worlds, each more alien and bizarre than the next, sat in silence, awaiting the day's proceedings. There was tension in the air, a palpable hum of unease, as the fate of a species newly inducted into the galactic fold hung in the balance. Humans. For centuries, their primitive, violent history had been the subject of much debate across the galaxy. They had crawled from the ruins of their own wars, clawing their way into the stars with a stubborn determination that unnerved even the most advanced civilizations. Despite their technological shortcomings, humans possessed an uncanny ability to adapt. This trait, once seen as a survival instinct, was now causing ripples in the carefully balanced ecosystem of galactic politics. At the heart of the debate was one question: were humans a threat, or were they an asset? Counselor Zavret, a towering being from the Arcanum cluster, leaned forward in his seat, his 8 eyes narrowing as he glared across the room. His species, known for their wisdom and temperance, had long been considered the de facto leaders of the Council. Zavret's opinions carried weight, and his displeasure was evident. "These humans," he began, his voice deep and resonant, "have shown themselves to be far more dangerous than we anticipated. When they first joined us, we welcomed them as a species struggling to survive. Now, they have committed an act that defies all sense of galactic decency." A murmur of agreement rippled through the chamber, and for the first time, the voices of those who had warned against humanity's inclusion gained volume. Councillor Flanks, a sharp-eyed delegate from the Draxii Federation, leaned forward. His slender, silken form vibrated with agitation. "What Zavret speaks of," Flanks continued, "is no mere triviality. These humans, with their primitive ways, have begun to hunt and consume apex predators, creatures that even the mightiest of us have never dared to approach. And they do so with an ease that is unsettling." The murmurs grew louder, and a sense of dread filled the room. Apex predators, often genetically engineered or evolved to dominate entire ecosystems, were considered invincible by most of the galaxy's species. They were revered, feared, and respected as the ultimate symbol of strength. For centuries, they had been untouchable. Now, humans were treating them like game, something to be hunted, cooked, and eaten. The footage of human hunters, standing over the fallen corpses of creatures that had once ruled entire worlds, was circulated across every known species' communication channels. It was shocking, baffling, and deeply unsettling. Across the room, Councillor Ilera, a representative from the peaceful and technologically advanced Viridians, crossed her arms in thought. She was not one for knee-jerk reactions, preferring to weigh the facts carefully before passing judgment. "I must admit," she said, "I understand the concern, but we must also consider the broader picture. Humans have done this not out of malice, but out of necessity. The apex predators they hunt are not native to their worlds. They have been brought into human territories, their genetic makeup altered to serve as weapons or tests of strength. The humans are simply asserting dominance in their own way." Ilera's voice carried a tone of measured reason, but even she could not fully mask the edge of uncertainty in her words. The truth was, humanity's ability to hunt and kill apex predators was something no one could have predicted, and no one fully understood. Zavret's gaze hardened. "It is not about necessity, Ilera. It is about arrogance. These humans have no respect for the natural order. Their behavior defies everything we have come to understand about strength and power. If they can do this to the apex predators, what will they do to us? What happens when they decide they can conquer the stars the same way they conquer these creatures?" The words lingered in the air like a dark omen, and for a moment, no one spoke. The room fell into a heavy silence, the weight of Zavret's words pressing down on every mind present. The galaxy had long been a delicate balance of power, a place where strength was respected, and dominance was earned. But humans had shattered that balance with a single act, an act that no one had foreseen. Across the room, a human representative stood. Ambassador Mark Hale, a diplomat chosen to represent Earth's interests in the Council, was a man of unassuming presence. His height was average, his appearance nothing extraordinary, but his calm demeanor commanded attention in this tense moment. "Councillor Zavret," Hale began, his voice steady and clear, "I understand your concerns, but I ask you to consider something. Humans did not come into this galaxy with the intent to disrupt or destroy. We came here to learn, to grow, and to cooperate with the diverse species that make up this council. Yes, we hunt apex predators. But we do so not out of some desire to prove superiority, but because we are a species that values strength, skill, and the ability to overcome seemingly insurmountable challenges. We have faced extinction before, and we did not shy away from that challenge. And if we are to coexist with you, we must prove that we can rise to meet whatever challenges this galaxy throws at us. His words hung in the air, resonating with a raw honesty that seemed to quiet even the most skeptical minds in the room. Hale knew the truth. Humanity had always thrived on challenges, on pushing the limits of what was thought possible. It was both their greatest strength and their most dangerous flaw. And now, as the council deliberated, he could only hope that this truth would be enough to secure humanity's place among the stars. But the outcome was still uncertain, and the council's decision would shape the future of humanity's role in the galaxy forever. The council chamber was still humming with tension as the representatives returned to their seats, muttering in low voices. Ambassador Mark Hale's words had carried weight, but the doubts among the counselors lingered. Despite his best efforts to calm their fears, humanity's casual approach to hunting apex predators had ignited a firestorm of conflict. As the debate continued, Hale's mind drifted to the scenes he had witnessed firsthand. The hunts, the kill, the strange pride that filled the humans as they devoured the very creatures that other species worshipped. He had seen it all on Earth. The video feeds had broadcast human hunters, brave, unyielding, tackling creatures that would have crushed lesser beings. One of the most infamous had been the Ithorian behemoth, a creature that stood 15 meters tall, covered in thick, impenetrable scales. Its roar shook the ground, and its eyes glowed with an intelligence that many species believed was beyond the comprehension of any species short of a god. Yet, humans had brought it down. Not through brute force, but through calculated teamwork, precision, and technological ingenuity. The footage was stunning. Humans, seemingly the underdogs of the galaxy, had outsmarted the seemingly invincible predators, proving their adaptability time and again. They had brought these creatures to their knees with nothing more than their wits and willpower. Hale's thoughts were interrupted by the sudden flicker of a hologram. The visual feed shifted, and images of the Ithorian behemoth flashed across the council chamber. The beast's massive body sprawled on the ground, its once terrifying eyes now dull and lifeless. The humans, wearing their standard combat suits, stood over it, some with expressions of grim satisfaction, others sharing the simple joy of survival. The surrounding galaxy's response had been immediate: shocked gasps, disbelief, and whispers of fear. "Tell us again, Ambassador." Counselor Flanks's voice cut through the murmurs, sharp as a blade. "How exactly did your people, your primitive people, manage to defeat such a beast? What possible advantage did you have that every other species, even the mighty Arcanum, could not?" Hale stiffened. He had known this moment would come. The Council had questioned humanity's methods before, but now it was not just their strength that was in question, it was their entire approach to survival. "The Ithorian behemoth was a product of genetic engineering," Hale began, his voice steady despite the weight of the room's judgment. "It was bred to be powerful, yes, but it was also vulnerable in ways that others did not see. We studied its behavior, learned its patterns, and created weapons that exploited its weaknesses. We didn't defeat it because we are stronger, we defeated it because we understood it. And that understanding, that adaptability, is what defines us as humans." Flank scowled, clearly unimpressed. "Understanding is one thing. Recklessness is another. You have demonstrated that you will stop at nothing to subjugate these creatures. What happens when you decide to turn that same logic toward the rest of us?" The room fell silent again. The weight of the question hung in the air, thick and oppressive. Hale's eyes scanned the room, seeing the rising unease among the delegates. The words of his people, their unyielding belief in their strength and resilience, seemed to have only stoked the fires of fear. But it wasn't just fear that made the Council wary. It was the recognition that humanity's rise was unlike any other species the galaxy had encountered. No other species had managed to bring down apex predators, not with mere brute force, but through strategy, intelligence, and the ability to exploit weaknesses others couldn't even see. It was a power that was unsettling because it defied the natural order. Counselor Zavret, his voice thick with disdain, spoke next. "You claim your survival is based on intellect, Ambassador. But I see no difference between you and the predators you hunt. You devour these creatures not out of necessity, but for sport, for pride. And if you are willing to destroy what is revered as the pinnacle of strength, what is to stop you from turning your attention to the rest of us? What makes you any different from those you destroy? Hale held his ground, his eyes narrowing with a quiet intensity. The difference, Counselor Zavret, is that we have no intention of conquering anyone. We are not here to rule. We are here to survive and grow. You speak of us like we are a threat, but I ask you, who else has taken down the behemoth? Who else has faced such creatures and come out the other side with nothing more than their will and ingenuity? If there's one thing humans understand, it's the value of life, not the destruction of it. For a moment, the room was silent, the weight of Hale's words hanging in the air. He knew his people's actions were controversial, even within their own ranks. There were those who celebrated the hunts, those who reveled in the glory of conquering the ultimate predators. But there were others, voices not often heard, who questioned the ethics of it. What did it mean to hunt the apex? Was it a sign of humanity's strength, or their hubris? The debate raged on in the council chamber, but Hale could feel the shifting tide. Some species, who had once considered humanity a curiosity, were beginning to see them as something more, a species to be respected, even feared. Others, like the Arcanum, were resolute in their distrust, seeing in humans an unpredictability that threatened the fragile peace the galaxy had enjoyed for centuries. The hologram flickered again, this time showing a new image, a massive, serpent-like creature from the planet Erixus, a world known for its deadly fauna. It slithered across the desert landscape, its scales glinting in the harsh sunlight. Another apex predator. Another challenge for humanity. Mark Hale watched it closely, knowing that another hunt, another victory, was inevitable. The galaxy would never look at humans the same way again. Whether that was a blessing or a curse, only time would tell. The debate had spiraled into chaos, with each counselor voicing their concerns in turn. Mark Hale stood at the center of the storm, his mind racing. The questions were endless, the accusations sharp, and yet he knew one thing for certain: humanity had reached a crossroads. The choice the Galactic Council made would determine whether Earth and its people would become pariahs or be accepted into the fold of galactic society. Zavret's voice boomed once more, filled with disdain. This behavior cannot go unchecked. These humans, with their arrogance, have disturbed the balance of power. If we allow this to continue, what next? Will they seek to conquer our territories? Will they destroy our sacred creatures simply because they can? What will stop them from rising against us? The questions were valid, each one sharp, each one filled with the same dread that had taken root in the heart of the council. Hale felt his chest tighten. He had known this was coming. The humans' actions, though driven by survival, had painted them as a threat in the eyes of those who feared what they could become. But it was not an accusation Hale could easily dismiss. "Counselor Zavret," Hale said, his voice steady, "I understand your fears, but let me clarify something crucial. We are not predators. We do not hunt for sport. What we do is rooted in survival, in necessity. Yes, we have faced creatures like the Ithorian behemoth and the Erixian WYRM, but we did not seek them out to prove a point. We did not destroy them because of some deep-seated desire to dominate. We did so because they were threats to our people." He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. Around him, the chamber seemed to hold its breath. "We don't wish to conquer the galaxy, Counselor. We don't seek to rule. But we will fight to protect what is ours. And if that means confronting the very creatures that have been hailed as invincible, then so be it." Hale's words hung in the air, but the silence that followed was thick with uncertainty. He could feel the skepticism, the reluctance to accept the idea that humanity was not some dark, aggressive force waiting to strike. But the tension was tempered by something else, a begrudging understanding. Counselor Ilera, always the voice of reason, leaned forward, her ethereal form almost shimmering in the light. "Ambassador Hale, you speak of survival, and we understand that. We, too, have known the horrors of war, of existential threats. But there is a difference between defending one's home and asserting dominance over another species simply because you can." Hale nodded slowly. He knew she was right. He had seen the videos, the images of human hunters posing victoriously over their kills. They were undeniably impressive, but it wasn't hard to see why they unsettled the galactic community. The visual of a species, so new to the stars, treating apex predators with such casual disregard for their significance was a shock. It defied the order of the galaxy, where strength was tempered by respect, by reverence for what was considered untouchable. Are we really so different from the creatures we hunt? Ilera continued, her gaze soft but piercing. You claim that humanity seeks only to survive, but in doing so, you have shaken the very foundation of what we hold sacred. For a moment, Hale's mind raced. How could he convey the essence of humanity's purpose without it sounding like an excuse? The truth was simple. Humans had always fought for survival. Whether it was against beasts on their homeworld or the countless challenges the universe had thrown their way, they adapted, they learned, and they overcame. But there was also a truth he knew he couldn't ignore. Humanity's strength, their sheer will to survive, was often misunderstood as a desire to dominate. That perception had caused them to be feared, and now, it threatened to isolate them from the galaxy. Zavrit was not done. His voice thundered across the chamber, an unyielding force. If we allow humans to continue with this unchecked aggression, we are inviting chaos. We are inviting a species that sees no boundaries, no limits. They will become a threat not just to us, but to the entire galaxy. Hale could see the moment when the balance of power began to shift. The fear that had gripped the Council was slowly being replaced by something else, a realization. A recognition that humanity, despite its unpredictability, had the power to shape the galaxy's future. Whether for good or ill, humanity had already proven its strength. And that strength could not be ignored. Counselor Zavrit, Hale said, his voice firm but not without empathy, we don't wish to be your enemy. If we have done anything to offend you, to make you feel threatened, I apologize. But I ask you, all of you, to consider this. We do not seek to rule. We only wish to belong. The room fell silent once more, the weight of Hale's words pressing down on everyone present. The debate had reached its boiling point, and the future of humanity in the galaxy hung by a thread. Some counselors remained skeptical, their eyes narrowed, their minds fixed on the danger humanity represented. Others, like Ilera, seemed to understand the deeper truth, that humanity's strength could be tempered with reason and diplomacy, if given the chance. At the far end of the chamber, Counselor Flanks, who had remained mostly silent, finally spoke. His voice was softer than before, but it carried the gravitas of a decision waiting to be made. Perhaps it is time to reconsider what we see in humanity. Not as a threat, but as a species capable of surprising us all. The Council was divided, but the seeds of change had been planted. The decision was not final, but it was clear that humanity's future in the galaxy would not be determined by fear alone. The next steps would decide whether humans would rise to become allies, or whether their strength would be feared forever. For Hale, it was a fleeting hope, one that he knew could either save humanity or condemn them.